when I started, or over my 50 years, you'd always hear about the who's who. Uh, I don't find that as much anymore. Uh, and I don't know, maybe the provincial associations aren't, like, to me, we would invite people from the who's who to give a clinic or whatever. And I know there's clinics available and you can go to these clinics, but in my background, you'd get, we'd invite people to the club. We'd invite Frank Atashatel. We'd invite different people like that to visit our club. And maybe we're at fault in not talking about these people as much as we should. But my background was you'd hear about these people and you'd look up to them, and it would give you something to aspire to, and you know that you were way down here, but yet there's an up there to attain.
You've got a problem, just ask one of your 200 nearest and dearest.
Yeah,
Look at it,
yeah,
it still rings true.
yeah, yeah,
Like when I started to put the list together of people, I started with the names and then refined it.
yeah,
And then I went, there's so many people who are gone that I'd love to have in it, but
yeah,
it's just so difficult to get
yeah,
that stuff. So
yeah,
you take people from their club that knew them best and
yeah.
go from there. We will.
Not aware. I think there's fewer people, fewer percentages of clubs competing, and so when you get to compete, say when I started competing almost right away, provincially and nationally, you would see these people. Whereas a lot of people now, I think in judo, there's a small percentage that compete at all, so they're not as exposed to the big guys, if you want to call them that. That when I just couldn't wait to go to the next tournament, whether it's provincial or national. But a lot of people are doing it just from a recreational point of view as a percentage. And I've talked to different people over the years, and it's good in that you can still do judo without being a competitor. They do it as a recreational point of view, but it's the downside is they don't get the exposure. One of them, and some kid asked, "Why am I so nervous for the tournament coming up?" And Frank had a real deep answer. He said, "For every 10 people that go into a tournament, at least 10 of them are nervous." Yeah.
What does it take to sit on the top of the podium?
As a competitor, you mean?
Yes.
That's a good question, and I'm sure that people who competed like Wayne Erdman and Rainer Pischer could probably answer that better. I didn't. I never reached that level to be able to be on the podium nationally. Did. I've won 10 provincial championships, Eastern Canadian and stuff like that. But number one is you have to love the sport uh, to to get to the next level. To have the want to, you have to have the want to, and the desire to compete, and not be not be scared of losing. Number one, you haven't got to be scared of losing, but you also got to have a desire to win. I've known guys who are very good at when you're in the club, you fight them and they're so, but when they get in a tournament, they just turn it on like amazing, and they just have that desire to win. So you have to have a desire, obviously, and you have to have the technique and the training. It takes a lot of training. You got to be in shape, but there's a combination of things, and time is a big thing. In my case, uh, in my judo, both out of the province and in province, when you get in your 20s and you get a family, you get work, and you can only put so much time in it. While you love judo, you still got to eat, you still got to support your family. So in my case, in the years I was competing, I had a family, I had work, and all these other obligations, and so time is a big element. So therefore, you've got a sacrifice. And I know guys who didn't get married intentionally until their sort of competitive days were over. So there's a cost that way. And comes a point where, like, I remember my priority was judo, family, God, and work kind of a thing. And then, but there came a time in my life that I had to switch those priorities around. It doesn't mean I disliked any of them, but there had to come a time when usually you weighed in on a Friday night for the provincial or national on a Saturday, and this was a provincial coming up, and so my routine, I would be about maybe 15 pounds over 2 nights before. So I would go on a Thursday night, and I'd wear my sweatshirt and a garbage bag over me and a sweatsuit and a judo gi over that, and I'd lose 7 or 8 pounds that night and not eat the next day so I could weigh in on Friday night and have a big steak. But this particular Thursday night, I was sitting supper and I was getting ready to go to judo. It was about 6 o'clock, and a scream in the backyard, and my little 4-year-old, 5-year-old, got his leg caught between the teeter totter and the ground, and he screamed and broke his leg. So I went out and grabbed him, and I checked my watch. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Okay, I can make it back to judo at 7. And so I've taken him to the hospital, always watching my watch, and then sat in the waiting room watching my watch, and then they took him in, took an X-ray, and I'm still checking my watch. I got to make it to judo tonight. And so finally, the doctor came out with the X-ray and puts it up on the screen, and the 2 bones in his leg were like this, like broken. And the first thing I did was check my watch to see if I was going to make it to go to judo. And all of a sudden, it hit me, Fred, what are your priorities? Now, I didn't, I didn't make weight that night. I weighed, and I was 4 pounds over, and I had to jog for half an hour and push-ups. I still made it, but I had to. That year, I think it was in '81 or '82. It made me realize that what my priorities were, and as much as you love a sport or anything, your family has to come first. And that was a wake-up call for me. I didn't stop competing. I still did it, but I put it in perspective from my point of view of my family, my God, and so on and so forth. And that was a big point for me. That was a big point for me. It's 1971. I was teaching school in Goose Bay, and there was a guy teaching wrestling, and I was doing judo. And he said, "Well, you join my wrestling, I'll join your judo." And we both had to lose weight. And I remember going from 195 to wrestling was 180, and judo was 176. And I remember doing it in about 3 or 4 weeks, and it takes a toll. But if you do it, but I'm pretty good to science, and was able to do it. And but there's advantages to just fight where you are. Yeah. But anyway, I lived in the university town, so the instructor, his 2 sons, and 2 other guys, we kept going all summer. And I that's when I just focused on getting all the technique up to black belt that summer. So when the fall started, then I was able to teach. So I was almost teaching almost right away. So I started my first club in 1975, I think it was, and then I've always had a club, and my club now, I've been Diamond Judo. It's been I've been doing in Ontario since 1993, having a club. I don't own the club now, but I'm the main judo instructor there. So I'm like a kid when I get on the mat again. I get on the mat, and you meet so many people. There's a joke for your book. I ran into someone in Walmart a while ago, and I looked at this person, and they looked at me as if we knew each other, and then we realized, oh, from judo. And he said to me, "Oh, I didn't recognize you with your clothes on." You agree with everybody, right? So it's a great sport, and I love it. And as long as I can do it, I'll do it. I look at myself now sometimes, and as you can see, I got a bit of weight on me. My chest used to be up here, and I look at some of the things I get the kids to do, or the adults. I just teach adults, and I look back and thought, I can't believe I used to do that.